Hello, Toonami! Absolutely buzzing to be talking Newcastle United with you all today. The sun's shining on St James Park, and there's plenty to discuss about our beloved Magpies. What do you think about Newcastle's interest in Genk's defensive midfielder Ibrahima Sory Bangura? Could he be the next big star to shine in black and white? And how do you feel about Lloyd Kelly's situation at Juventus? Was his departure a blessing in disguise for the Magpies? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Newcastle I. Promising Genk midfielder Ibrahima Sory Bangura. Newcastle United's scouting network has been working overtime again, lads and lasses. And this time, they've set their sights on one of Belgium's most promising talents. Ibrahima Sory. Bangura might not be a household name yet, but trust me, our recruitment team knows quality when they see it. The 21-year-old Guinean midfielder has been turning heads at Genk, and Newcastle are reportedly among several Premier League clubs showing serious interest. What makes this potential signing so exciting is how perfectly Bangura would fit into Eddie Howe's system. Standing at over 6 feet tall, he's a physical presence in midfield with incredible defensive abilities for someone his age. The lad covers every blade of grass, wins back possession consistently, and has been compared to former Genk star Wilfred Ndidi, which is quite the compliment, isn't it? Genk has an absolutely stellar record when it comes to developing talent. Just look at the names that have passed through their ranks. Kevin De Bruyne, Thibaut Courtois, Leandro Trossard, the list goes on. Their scouting network spotted Bangura in Guinea, brought him to Belgium in 2022, and their patience has paid off tremendously. After spending his first season with Young Genk in the Challenger Pro League, making 50 appearances and adapting to European football, he stepped up brilliantly this season, with 35 appearances in all competitions. What's particularly impressive about Bangura's journey is how quickly he's polished his game. He was admittedly raw when he arrived, but his development over the past 18 months has been nothing short of remarkable. While Belgian football experts note he still has room for improvement, particularly in his decision-making after winning the ball, his physical attributes and defensive acumen make him an incredibly attractive prospect. We all know Howe loves a player with potential who he can develop further, and Bangura fits that mold perfectly, with Bruno Guimaraes, Joelinton, and Sandro Tonali forming a formidable midfield trio. Adding Bangura would provide excellent depth as we prepare for another European campaign next season. The young Guinean would have time to develop without immediate pressure, while learning from some of the best in the business. There's been talk about a potential release clause, but Genk's sporting director, Dimitri Descondes, has dismissed reports of a $17 million clause. However, looking at Genk's recent sales, players like Daniel Munoz to Crystal Palace, Mike Trezor to Burnley, and Bilal El-Khanous to Leicester, all for fees between 18 to 22.5 million. We can expect Bangura to command a similar price tag. The competition for his signature will be fierce. No doubt about that. Premier League scouts regularly scour Belgian football for the next big thing, and Bangura's performances haven't gone unnoticed. But Newcastle United's project, under our Saudi ownership, offers something truly special. We're building something magnificent here on Tyneside, and promising young players like Bangura can see that. What I love about this potential move is that it demonstrates our evolved recruitment strategy. We're not just after established stars. We're identifying high potential talents before they hit their peak value. If we can secure Bangura for around $15 to $20 million, and he develops as expected, his value could easily double or triple within a couple of seasons. That's smart business and shows that we're planning for long-term success, not just immediate results. The fact that multiple reliable sources are confirming our interest suggests this isn't just paper talk. There's genuine admiration for Bangura within St. James Park, and with the summer transfer window approaching, this could be one of our early moves. Imagine the energy and steel he could bring to our midfield. Those attributes are perfectly suited to the Premier League's intensity. For Bangura himself, Newcastle offers the ideal next step. We've seen how Howe develops players, improving them tactically and physically. The Guinean would benefit from our world-class training facilities, experienced teammates, and a manager who trusts young talent. Plus, the passionate support of the Toon Army would surely help him settle quickly. There's no fan base quite like ours, is there? As we push for Champions League qualification and continue challenging the established elite, signings like Bangura represent the perfect balance between immediate squad strengthening and future planning. He might not be the finished article yet, but his ceiling is incredibly high, and that's exactly the type of player Newcastle should be targeting at this stage of our project. Well, Toon Army, let's dive into the curious case of Lloyd Kelly, a player who joined us with such promise, but whose Newcastle United chapter is ending almost as quickly as it began. Sometimes in football, not every signing works out as planned, and Kelly's situation is a perfect example of how the beautiful game can be unpredictable. When we signed Kelly on a free transfer from Bournemouth in 2024, there was genuine excitement around St. James's Park. After all, Eddie Howe knew him well from their time together at the Cherries, and on paper, it looked like smart business. An experienced Premier League defender, arriving without a transfer fee to bolster our defensive options. The perfect backup to Dan Burn and Lewis Hall, or so we thought. Fast forward less than a year, and Kelly is now on the verge of a permanent move to Juventus, after his January loan move. And here's where Paul Mitchell deserves enormous credit. Newcastle are set to pocket around $20 million for a player who barely featured for us. In the current financial climate, with Premier League profit and sustainability rules becoming increasingly stringent, that's nothing short of brilliant business from our sporting director. The move to Italy, however, hasn't exactly been smooth sailing for Kelly. The Italian media have been absolutely ruthless in their assessment of his performances. After making his Champions League debut against PSV Eindhoven, Kelly faced heavy criticism, and things didn't improve much from there. Despite Juventus recovering from a goal, down to win 2-1 against Como on his debut, the defender still found himself on the receiving end of harsh reviews. One particularly scathing assessment came from Gazzetta dello Sport journalist Mimo Cugini, who didn't hold back, labeling Kelly as the most disastrous signing in the history of Juventus, and describing some of his performances as frankly embarrassing. That's brutal, isn't it? Italian football is known for its tactical sophistication and technical demands, particularly for defenders, and the transition hasn't been easy for Kelly. What makes this situation even more interesting is that Kelly reportedly took a pay cut to facilitate the move to Juventus. That suggests he was desperate for a fresh start and regular playing time, something he clearly wasn't going to get at Newcastle. Sometimes a player just doesn't fit a particular club or league, and there's no shame in that. Not every transfer works out, even with the best intentions from all parties. In March, Juventus made a managerial change, with Thiago Motta departing and Igor Tudor taking the helm. Under Tudor, there were signs of improvement in Kelly's performances, offering a glimmer of hope that he might yet find his feet in Serie A. But just as things were looking up, disaster struck in the form of a hamstring injury during Juventus's victory over AC Monza in late April. According to Juventus's medical statement, Kelly suffered a low-grade lesion of the biceps femoris in his right thigh. The club announced they would conduct further tests after about 10 days to determine the exact recovery timeline. This setback couldn't have come at a worse time for Kelly, who was just starting to settle into life in Turin and adapt to Tudor's playing style. From a Newcastle perspective though, this transfer saga represents excellent business. Turning a free transfer into a $20 million profit within a year is remarkable, especially for a player who never really established himself in our squad. Those funds can now be reinvested into strengthening areas of the squad that need attention as we continue pushing toward the European places. Kelly's situation also highlights the ruthlessness required to compete at the highest level. Eddie Howe might have had a soft spot for a player he previously managed, but he clearly recognized that Kelly wasn't going to contribute significantly to our project. Rather than keeping him around as a bit-part player, the decision to let him go to Juventus benefits all parties. Newcastle get a handsome fee. Juventus get a defender they believe in, despite the media criticism. And Kelly gets a fresh opportunity. There's a lesson here for all football clubs. Sometimes cutting your losses early is the best policy. Not every transfer works out as planned, and being able to recognize that quickly and act decisively is a sign of effective club management. That's exactly what we've seen from Newcastle in this case. And it's another indicator of how professionally the club is now being run. For supporters, Kelly's brief stint at Newcastle will likely be remembered as a footnote rather than a significant chapter. He joins the long list of players who arrived with promise, but departed without making a meaningful impact. That's just the nature of football. Not every signing can be a Bruno Guimaraes or an Alexander Isak. As Newcastle continue building toward challenging for major honours, these kinds of transfer decisions become increasingly important. Every pound, saved or generated through smart dealings, can be channeled into strengthening the squad elsewhere. While Kelly's Newcastle career didn't work out, the financial outcome of his transfer represents a win for the club's long-term strategy. The contrast between Kelly's situation and our interest in promising talents like Ibrahima Sory Bangura demonstrates our evolving recruitment strategy. We're becoming more sophisticated in how we operate in the transfer market, identifying both established talents and high-potential youngsters who can grow with the club. It's an exciting time to be a Newcastle fan, watching our club transform into a genuine force, both on and off the pitch, as Kelly recovers from his injury and prepares for life as a permanent Juventus player. Newcastle fans can wish him well, while focusing on the exciting future ahead at St James Park. Football careers are short, and sometimes players need to move to find their place. Kelly's Newcastle chapter may be closing, but our story as a club continues to build toward what we all hope will be a glorious new era. Well, that's all from St James's Park for today. Lads and lasses, what a time to be a Newcastle United supporter. Our recruitment is getting sharper. We're making smart business decisions, and the future looks incredibly bright for the best team in the world. Keep the faith, keep supporting the Magpies through thick and thin, and remember, we've got the best fans in the world backing the best club in the world. Away the lads! Lads!